Tonight's story is one of those moments life never warns you about. I thought I was just stepping out for a quiet glass of wine with someone I barely understood. But what she confessed, what she carried inside her, and what unfolded afterward became a night I still hear echoing today. This is my confession, and hers. I never planned to go anywhere with her that night. If I'm being honest, I didn't even plan to see her. I had only stopped by my father's house to drop off a package he'd asked me to pick up from town. Simple errand, no complications. That's what I told myself. But complications have a strange way of finding me, especially where she is concerned. She greeted me at the door herself, not the housekeeper, not my father. Just her. My stepmother. The woman who walked into my father's life when I was already grown, already distant from him, already convinced nobody could fill the empty spaces he never bothered to patch up. What I didn't expect was her, the way she carried herself like she understood loneliness as a language, and the way she looked at me when she thought no one else was watching. That night, beneath the porch lights, she smiled like she had been expecting me. "You look tired," she said. "Rough day?" I shrugged. "Something like that." She leaned against the doorway, one hand resting just above her hip, the dim glow tracing the shape of her face. She was dressed casually, loose cream blouse, fitted jeans, but nothing about her ever looked casual to me. There was always a quiet intention in everything she wore, everything she said, everything she did. "My husband went out of town for a meeting," she added, too quietly. "He won't be back until late tomorrow." I pretended that meant nothing. "I'll just drop the package inside." But she blocked the doorway with a soft laugh. "Or," she said, "you can stay for a glass of wine. You look like you need one. And I wouldn't mind some company." Pulse of warning shot through me. But so did something else. Something warm. Sharp. Pulling. A silence settled between us, too thick to ignore. "Do you ever feel like you're living a life you didn't choose?" she asked suddenly. "Like you're watching yourself from a distance?" I swallowed. "Every day." She exhaled, a soft, trembling sound. And for the first time since she walked into my father's life, I saw something real crack through her polished calm. Loneliness. Not harmless, manageable loneliness, but the kind that grows teeth. She took my empty glass from my hand and set it down. Her fingers lingered an extra second on my wrist. Then she whispered, "I don't want to drink here. Let's go somewhere, quieter." I stared at her. "You want to go out? With me?" "I want to stop pretending," she said. My heart kicked hard against my ribs. I should have walked away. But I didn't. I followed her out the door. Into the night. Into something I wouldn't be able to undo. She didn't tell me where we were going. She just grabbed her coat, slipped her phone into her pocket, and walked toward my car like she had already rehearsed the moment in her mind. The night outside was thick and warm, the kind of air that presses against your skin and makes every breath feel heavier than it should. I unlocked the car, and she slid into the passenger seat with a soft sigh, as though she'd been holding her breath for far too long. "Anywhere in particular?" I asked as I started the engine. "Just drive," she said. "I'll tell you when to stop." There was something in her voice, something unsteady, something hungry, that made my hands tighten on the steering wheel. I pulled out of the driveway, the house shrinking behind us. My father's house. Her cage. Our line of no return. For a while, neither of us spoke. The road stretched ahead, quiet, empty. Streetlights flickered past like slow, rhythmic blinks in the dark. I woke before she did. Not because of nerves, or guilt, or fear of discovery. But because the room was too quiet, too still, and some part of me already sensed that something had shifted. She was lying beside me, not touching, not curled into me, but close enough that I felt the warmth of her presence. Her breathing was soft and uneven, like someone who had finally allowed herself to rest after years of holding her breath. For a moment, I watched her. Not out of desire, but out of ache. People assume loneliness looks loud, dramatic, messy, obvious. But hers was the quiet kind. The kind that built walls instead of breaking them. The kind that hid behind perfect hair and polite smiles and the illusion of a stable marriage. She stirred slightly and opened her eyes. "You're awake," she whispered. "Couldn't sleep." She sat up slowly, pulling the blanket around her shoulders. "Are you regretting this?" she asked. "No," I said honestly. "Are you?" Her eyes lowered. "I don't regret what I felt. I regret where it leads." She walked to the small window and opened the curtains just enough for the morning light to spill into the room. It painted her in soft gold, making her look like someone caught between two lives. "I can't stay here," she said quietly. "I know. And you can't wait for me." "I know." She turned to me with a sad smile. "Then maybe we had the night we needed." She reached for her coat, slipping her arms through the sleeves with slow, almost trembling movements. "That paper I gave you," she said. "Keep it. One day, if I'm gone, you'll understand what it meant." "You're scaring me." "You should be scared," she said softly. "Not of me. Of the truth." She walked toward me, her step soft against the carpet. She placed her hand on my cheek, her palm warm. "For what it's worth," she whispered, "last night I felt alive again." "I married him because I thought stability would save me," she said. "I thought being with a man who'd already lived his wild years would give me peace. And instead," I asked. "And instead I became part of his furniture," she said. "Pretty. Polished. Useful. Quiet." Her jaw clenched, and for a moment she didn't look like the graceful woman everyone admired. She looked like someone who had been screaming on the inside for too long. "I didn't think you noticed me," she admitted. "Not the real me." "I noticed," I said, and my voice came out too honest, too raw. She exhaled shakily, her fingers brushing mine on the table. "We shouldn't be here," she whispered. "I know. But you're not leaving." "No," I said. "I'm not." She swallowed hard, the truth of the moment settling heavily between us. "And that," she said softly, "is exactly why I came." The bottle was half empty before either of us realized time had slipped out the back door. She held her glass delicately but drank like someone who needed courage more than clarity. "What was your life before him?" I asked. "A story no one believed," she murmured. "And a woman no one took seriously." Her eyes drifted toward the window, the dark glass reflecting the dim glow of the bar lights. "I grew up fast," she said. "Faster than anyone should. By the time I was 20, I had already learned how to survive men who wanted everything except the truth." I listened quietly. She had never spoken like this before, never with the kind of exhaustion that sounds older than a person's age. "Then your father came," she said. "He wasn't charming. He wasn't sweet. But he was steady. He looked at me like I was something he could keep safe." "And was he?" She laughed, a painful, brittle sound. "He was safe, yes. But he never knew me. Not really." She didn't tell me where we were going. She just grabbed her coat, slipped her phone into her pocket, and walked toward my car like she had already rehearsed the moment in her mind. The night outside was thick and warm, the kind of air that presses against your skin and makes every breath feel heavier than it should. I unlocked the car, and she slid into the passenger seat with a soft sigh, as though she'd been holding her breath for far too long. "Anywhere in particular?" I asked as I started the engine. "Just drive," she said. "I'll tell you when to stop." There was something in her voice, something unsteady, something hungry, that made my hands tighten on the steering wheel. I pulled out of the driveway, the house shrinking behind us. My father's house. Her cage. Our line of no return. For a while, neither of us spoke. The road stretched ahead, quiet, empty. Streetlights flickered past like slow, rhythmic blinks in the dark. I glanced at her when I thought she wasn't looking. But she was looking right back at me. "What?" she asked softly. "You seem different tonight." "Maybe I'm tired of pretending," she said. "Maybe I'm tired of waiting for a life that's not going to come." Her words settled low in my chest. "Does he know?" "No," she said with a short, bitter laugh. "Your father only sees what makes his life easier. Anything else," she shook her head. "He's blind by choice." Silence swelled between us again, heavy but not uncomfortable. More like anticipation. Like something was unfolding in real time and neither of us knew how to slow it down, or if we even wanted to. "Turn right," she instructed suddenly. I did. We ended up at a small, dimly lit wine bar tucked behind old sycamore trees, the kind of place people only find when they're running from something or running towards something worse. She stepped out of the car and waited for me, arms crossed lightly, her expression unreadable. Then she looked at me. Really looked at me. "I think that's why I keep crossing lines around you." My breath caught. "You're the one drawing the lines." Her lips curved faintly. "And you're the one following them." The air between us pulsed, thick with everything we weren't saying. Then she reached into her coat pocket and took out a small folded piece of paper. She slid it across the table. "What's this?" I asked. "My truth," she said. "If I disappear someday, you'll know why." I stared at her, startled. "Disappear?" "You heard me." I unfolded the paper slowly. It was a name. Just a name. But her eyes told me it was more dangerous than it looked. "Who is this?" She shook her head. "Not here. Not tonight. Just keep it." The weight of her words settled like a stone in my chest. Something about her life was darker than longing, heavier than loneliness. "Why me?" I asked. "Because you see me," she whispered. "And because you don't look at me like I'm trapped." I opened my mouth to speak, but she reached across the table and pressed a finger to my lips, silencing whatever reason I was about to spill. "Not tonight," she murmured. "Tonight I want to remember what it feels like to be wanted." I swallowed, my pulse hammering. "And what do you want from me?" I whispered. She leaned forward, so close I felt her breath against my cheek. "Nothing," she breathed. "And everything." Her hand slid down, brushing my wrist, then squeezing it gently. Then she stood. "Come," she said. "Let's leave." "Where are we going?" "Someplace where I don't have to pretend to be anyone's wife." And without waiting for my answer, she walked out of the bar. I followed her again. And again, I knew, I shouldn't have. There it was. A door she didn't have to open, yet did. I should have said no. Every sane part of me whispered that. But sanity doesn't stand a chance against the kind of hunger you don't admit to yourself. The kind that builds slowly, creeping through every harmless conversation, every accidental touch, every moment when you catch someone's eyes lingering a second longer than they should. "Just one glass," I said. She smiled like she didn't believe me for a second. We walked through the house, quiet, too quiet. No footsteps echoing from upstairs, no heavy presence of my father pacing, no smell of his cologne lingering in the hallways. Just her scent. Warm. Calm. Something like vanilla and slow-burn trouble. In the living room, she poured 2 glasses without asking what I preferred. Deep red. Smooth. The kind that warms you before you swallow. She handed mine over, her fingers brushing mine on purpose, too lightly to claim it was intentional, too slow to pretend it wasn't. "To unexpected company," she said. "To dangerous invitations," I replied. She laughed, low, surprised, something close to delighted. I tried not to notice how close she sat. I tried not to notice the way her knee touched mine. I tried not to notice her eyes, which told me she had been waiting for something, maybe for months, maybe for longer. We talked about nothing and everything. About work. About books. About my father, though she spoke of him like he was some distant relative whose habits she tolerated, not a man she shared a home with. You would think marriage teaches you something about a person, she said softly. But sometimes it just teaches you how good people are at hiding. I looked at her for a long moment. What are you hiding? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she took a slow sip of her wine, watching me over the rim of the glass. Then she said, "Nothing I'm ready to confess." Not yet. Inside, the bar was small and warm, with soft jazz humming from hidden speakers and low golden lighting that wrapped everything in a haze. She chose a table at the back, half hidden by a curtain of shadows. The waiter came over with menus, but she waved him off. "Just bring us a bottle of the house red," she said. I raised a brow. "A whole bottle?" "We might need it," she said, and there was a glint in her eyes, dangerous, defiant, desperate. We poured the wine ourselves, like a secret ritual. The first sip hit slow and deep. She rested her elbow on the table and leaned in, close enough that the world around us went silent. "You know," she whispered, "I've never told anyone the truth about my marriage." I forced my voice steady. "Do you want to?" "I want to be heard," she said. Just once. By someone who's not asking anything from me. Something twisted in my stomach. "I'm listening." Her eyes softened in a way I could feel more than see. "I married him because I thought stability would save me," she said. "I thought being with a man who'd already lived his wild years would give me peace. And instead?" I asked. "And instead I became part of his furniture," she said. "Pretty. Polished. Useful. Quiet." Her jaw clenched, and for a moment she didn't look like the graceful woman everyone admired. She looked like someone who had been screaming on the inside for too long. "I didn't think you noticed me," she admitted. "Not the real me." "I noticed," I said, and my voice came out too honest, too raw. She exhaled shakily, her fingers brushing mine on the table. "We shouldn't be here," she whispered. "I know. But you're not leaving." "No," I said. "I'm not." She swallowed hard, the truth of the moment settling heavily between us. "And that," she said softly, "is exactly why I came." I caught her hand gently. "If you ever need me." "I already do," she said. "And that's the problem." She pulled away before I could answer. At the door, she paused, looking back only once. "You can tell this story one day," she said. "But don't use my name. Don't use his. Let it be, a ghost of a truth. Something only we understand." Then she left. No dramatic goodbye. No promises. No plea to follow her. Just a door closing softly behind her. I stood there in the quiet room, the folded paper heavy in my pocket, her scent lingering in the air, and the weight of a night that changed everything pressing into my bones. I didn't chase her. I didn't need to. Some stories don't end. They echo. And this one hasn't stopped echoing since. This video is a fictional mature story created for entertainment, reflection, and storytelling purposes only. It does not encourage inappropriate relationships, family misconduct, or real-life imitation. Viewer discretion is advised due to emotional intensity and adult themes. Some stories don't end, they linger. They whisper. They follow you in every quiet moment of your life. If you enjoyed this mature confession, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your engagement keeps this channel alive and helps bring more powerful stories your way.